Okay, welcome to another Lord Meher reading. It's going to be a short reading today, so let's get started. We are on page 2533 in the year 1946. Go ahead, Eva.
Krishna returned the shawl and coat to Baba, who put them on. Krishna wondered what work was being done since Baba had another coat with him. He refused to wear the clean coat, insisting upon putting this one back on. And they returned to Naranjapur from Hardwar. After a week, Baba sent Krishna back to Hardwar to see Nanga Baba and present him with flowers and a cup of water. When Krishna reached the place, he found a large crowd collected around Nanga Baba's dead body. He had died that very morning. A devotee of the mosque remarked to Krishna that the day before, Nanga Baba had said, "My work is done. I am going now." And this suddenly reminded Krishna of what Nanga Baba had uttered before Baba. "Now release me." Krishna bowed to Nanga Baba, placed the flowers on his body, sprinkled the water over it, and returned to Naranjapur. In May 1946, Baba and Erich traveled to Batala to contact Lahore Baba, an exceptional but extremely restless must, sitting only a few minutes in any one place. On seeing Baba, the naked must ran away and Baba pursued him. He rushed from his abode in a sweeper's colony to an octroi cabin, which is similar to a highway toll booth, where Baba contacted him. While Baba was sitting with him, Lahori Baba was overcome with emotion and burst out crying. Then suddenly he stood up and walked away. Baba came back to Naranjapur, not entirely satisfied with the contact. Accompanied by MEHER, Mani, Nehru, and Rano, Baba left Dehradun for Kulu Valley on Wednesday, 29 May, where it was much cooler than Naranjapur. Baidu, Kaka, Erich, and Don were also with him. On the way, Baba stopped at Batala to contact Lahori Baba for a second time. The must took off and began running through the fields, and Baba chased after him. After running almost 10 miles, the must finally stopped and sat down. The must allowed Baba to approach and sit with him. This contact was satisfactory, and Baba was pleased. Afterward, the group traveled to Pathankot, where Baba worked with the chargeman of the city, Bengali Baba, on the 30th. This saintly must was held in great reverence by the local people. They arrived in Mandi on 1 June. On the 3rd, they reached Katrain, where Baba and the group were to spend the next 3 weeks in a small cottage in Kulu Valley at the foothills of the Himalayas. Baba contacted a subtle conscious yogi in Baragapran during his stay. They met in silence in the yogi's mountain hut, but mostly Baba remained absorbed in his seclusion work. Rano had not been well in Naranjapur, and in Katrain, she felt weaker and more indisposed. Baba was feeding her with his own hands and looking after her with care. He remarked to her, "I brought you here to look after my requirements, But now I have to look after yours. It's my bad luck, Rano replied. Not bad luck, Baba corrected. It's your good luck. Don't worry. In Mandi, Baba had told her to eat a plate of curry and rice. Rano felt nauseated, but obeyed and later vomited. Don examined her and found she had infectious hepatitis. She was kept in a separate room at the top of a cowshed, and Don began treating her. Don would tell her to eat all sorts of appetizing things, but Baba forbade each new request. Rano improved quickly, and Baba later revealed, if I had not ordered you to eat that curry and rice, you would have been very sick. Leaving Katrain on Thursday, 20 June, 1946, Baba took the women to Manali and then to Raisan, where they spent the night at a hotel. From Raisan, they went to Palampur, where an amusing incident took place. A goat was caught eating Baba's soap. From Palampur, they entrained to Saharanpur, and from there went back to Naranjanpur, which they reached on 22 June. Dr. Ghani had a wife and children to support, but he never paid much attention to his homeopathic practice. And by 1946, he had fallen deeply into debt. While he had stayed in Bangalore with Baba in 1940, some unscrupulous persons in Lonavla had falsely involved him in a murder case. The case was taken to court, where it dragged on for years. Ghani had to spend a lot of money on lawyers for his defense, and because of this, he had incurred substantial debts. His acquittal came sooner than expected, and he attributed it to the night in Bangalore when he first disclosed to Baba his troubles. Baba was in seclusion at the time, and Ghani was on night watch. Baba asked him, "What are you thinking?" Ghani told him every detail of the false charges being brought against him. Baba replied, "You should have told me before. Where was the necessity of getting scared and going into debt?"
All right,
The-
Eva, I'll take over from here.
oh, okay.
Yeah. The whole thing is stuffless. Those who have involved you will themselves get entrapped. You will go free. And that is exactly what finally transpired. Ghani was acquitted, and the accusers became the accused and were found guilty of the murder. Ghani wrote this news to Baba and asked what to do to clear his debts. Baba thought of a scheme he called the Boja, or Burden Fund. In fact, Baba subsequently sent Don to England and America to collect enough money to pay off Ghani's debts. One day, Kaka and Erich were riding in a Tonga on their way from Dehradun railway station to Naranjanpur, where they saw an old man who looked to them like a must. They took him in the Tonga, thinking Baba would like to contact the man, and returned to Baba's bungalow. When the Tonga reached the gate, the old man exclaimed, "I have come to the Garden of Roses." Baba came out and their eyes met. Baba's eyes were lustrous, and the old man gazed fixedly at him. He began to laugh so hard that tears of joy rolled down his cheeks. The must then turned to Kaka and Erich and declared, "Look at this man's face and forehead. They shine as if the sun were there. Can't you recognize who he is?" Baba took the must by the hand and led him inside the gardener's hut, where they sat together for about 15 minutes. The old man could still be heard laughing in ecstasy. After the contact, Baba came out with the must and led him toward the house. The must saw a brass bell hanging by the gardener's hut and took it and began dancing in a circle around Baba, ringing the bell over his own head and Baba's. When Baba had taken him inside for a little while, the must announced, "God has sent me today to this Parsi saint." Baba then brought him back to the hut, where he again sat with him for half an hour. Before sending him back to Dehradun, Baba gave him 10 rupees, and oddly, the must insisted on writing down Baba's address. After the must left, Baba remarked that he was on the 5th plane. Jalbai left for Pune on 30th June 1946. On 2 July, Baba left with Kaka and Erich for must work in Ajmer. Wishing to work with the Majzub Chacha again, Baba had a kettle, cup, and saucer brought along to ply him with tea and to keep him in a happy mood. But this time, Chacha surprised them by asking for bread and mutton, which were brought to him. Baba sat with Chacha for an hour and a half and was very satisfied with the inner work done. While visiting other places en route, Baba returned to Naranjapur about 12 days later. Meanwhile, Keki Nalavala had the opportunity of coming into Baba's close contact at this time. During his stay in Naranjapur, Baba permitted Keki to visit daily. One day, Baba instructed him to bring 5 needy, former middle-class people, those who had suffered some misfortune, but who found it difficult to seek help because of their upbringing. Keki searched everywhere and found that almost everyone he met was needy. He was nervous of making a mistake, but at last managed to choose 5, and he brought them to Baba in a tonga. In a closed room, Baba washed their feet and gave them prasad in the form of money. After they had gone, Baba explained to Keki, "The whole world is needy, but I wanted to contact those people who are helpless, yet do not beg." Adi Sr. was called to Naranjapur from Ahmednagar on 19 July 1946. Baba left for Hardwar on the 24th with Adi, Kaka, Baidul, and Erich. They stayed on the 4th floor of a small hotel. Baba sent Erich and Baidul to scout out the area for suitable must contacts. They were also sent to Rishikesh on the 26th, but returned disappointed, explaining that one good must had left for some distant place. Despite that, Baba rose early on Saturday morning, 27 July 1946, and left for Rishikesh with the Mandali in a crowded public bus. It was monsoon season, and the Ganges were flooded by the heavy rains. A number of sadhus were contacted in Rishikesh, but not even one was advanced. As Adi noted in his diary, Baba gets peeved because the trip serves no useful purpose. They returned to Hardwar, and Baba decided to proceed to Amritsar for further must contacts. They boarded a train that evening and were surprised to find plenty of empty seats in a military compartment. But before the train left, the conductor came and told them to move to another compartment, as this one was reserved for military personnel only. The train was about to leave, and the other compartments were already overcrowded. There were hardly half a dozen soldiers in the military compartment, and they had no objection to Baba's remaining, so they stayed where they were. But after the train stopped at Roorkee and Saharanpur, the compartment filled to overflowing. Tempers rose as each soldier tried to make a place for himself. Before too long, there was a near riot in the speeding train. Bayonets were brandished and hockey sticks were swung. Pandemonium broke out. Suddenly, there was a loud clap, and everyone turned to see Baba standing on one of the wooden seats. The effect was instantaneous, Erich remembered, though I do not know how it could have been heard in that raucous din? The soldiers stopped fighting and stared up at Baba, who had raised his hands for them to cease. In his flowing white sadra, it seemed as if the darkness of their frenzy was dispelled by the rays of light issuing from his robe. They were mystified by his glowing countenance. Their wrath subsided and their hearts were eased by a soothing calmness. Baba then smiled, and his smile completely dissipated their anger. Baba dictated a short message on his board, which Erich read out. It is not good to fight among yourselves. It will not solve anything. You are soldiers, and the safety of our country rests on your shoulders. If you start fighting among yourselves, how will you safeguard the interests of the nation? Your fighting should be reserved for the protection of the country's citizens. The entire country trusts you, and if you betray this trust, then how will you protect the lives of your brothers and sisters? You are all brothers, and brothers should not fight. Now sit down. Baba's words had a salubrious effect, and all sat down. Baba promised everyone tea at the next station and told Erich to break open the tin of sweets which they had with them. At the next station, the tea was brought, and Baba distributed and the sweets with his own hands to every soldier. The murderous atmosphere of minutes before turned into one of camaraderie. Sitting among them, Baba talked with each through Erich and asked the soldiers to narrate their experiences in the war. However, finding it increasingly difficult to continue traveling in the same train, Baba and the men got down at Ambala. Kaka and Adi were told to go to Simla and gather information about musts and their locations there. On Saturday, 28 July 1946, Baba, Baidul, and Erich left by another train for Amritsar, where they stayed in a dak bungalow. From there, Baba went to the village of Verka to contact the 5th Plain Wali, Pali Sain. The Wali was a short old man who wore a slipper on one foot and kept the other foot bare. Mona, Mahu, would you like to pick up the reading?
Sure. So this is page 2538, 1946. In one hand, he held a tree branch, and in the other, a bundle with a Quran in it. Baba brought some plums for the mosque. Tali Sain, however, handed them back and told the Tanga driver to take Baba back to Amritsar. When Baba sent Erich to ask the Wali what should be done with the plums, Tali Sain replied, "The one who has given them knows best what to do with them." Baba was not satisfied with the contact, and so returned from Amritsar the next morning to see Tali Sain. It had rained heavily throughout the night, and they found him sitting in a pool of water and mud. Baba gently pulled him out and cleaned him. When the mosque spot was dried, Baba sat there alone with him for half an hour. Baba then left, happy with the contact, indicating that his work had now been satisfactorily completed. In Meerut, on August 1st, Baba contacted the chargeman of the city, MEHER Baba, a 5th Plain Mosque living in the cremation grounds. The Mosque, who kept 10 or 12 dogs with him, was a Jalali type and appeared ill-tempered, but to those who dared to approach him, he would
Sorry, here you go.
Yeah, but no, a little bit more up, please. Okay. Meaning, okay. I read this part again. In Meerut, on August 1st, Baba contacted the churchman of the city, Meher Baba, a fifth plain mosque living in the cremation grounds. The mosque, who kept 10 or 12 dogs with him, was a Jalali type and appeared ill-tempered. But to those who dared to approach him, he would utter Meherban, meaning gracious friend. In Bulandshahr, the same day, Baba worked with an advanced soul who was employed in an office. He would not usually meet people in his office, but as a result of Erich's persuasion, he agreed, and Baba contacted him there. On the second, Baba left to Sharanpur, where he had previously contacted mosques, and communed again with the sixth plain saint, Rahmatullah. At midnight, Baba returned to Ambala. The next day, they went to Pinjore, where Baba contacted a very high mosque called Bhagavan Nath. He was nearly naked, carrying bundles of rags, and had a mild but restless disposition. Baba found him quite suitable for his work. Baba then went to Kalka, where he contacted the mosque called Mahbub Baba, who for many years had sat on the veranda of a liquor shop. Baba also contacted Sadhu Nath, about whom Baba commented that he was sincere. On Monday, 4 August 1946, Baba, Baidul, and Erich traveled in a rented car and arrived midday at the Royal Hotel in Simla, where they met Kaka and Adi Sr. Baba seemed tired, and Erich and Baidul looked haggard. Baba remarked to Adi, "This trip has been the most exhausting exertion I have ever undertaken." During Baba's 3-day stay in the mountain town of Simla, he worked with a Mohammedan master who was sometimes a Jalali, means fiery, and at other times a Jamali, serene type. Next page. Baba also worked with Agori Baba, a sixth plain saint. He was an impressive and powerful-looking man with fiery eyes and was known to be abusive. The masked saint stayed at the house of a sheikh who greatly revered him. The mask had taken over the entire veranda of the house, filling it with the filth and rubbish, and actually blocking the front entrance, making it impossible to enter the house from the front door. The Sikh, not wishing to disturb Agori Baba, had built a ladder to another entrance so as not to trespass through the mosque's territory. When they went to contact him, Agori Baba pointed to Baba and remarked, "Do you know who he is?" You will see what will come to pass and one day know who he really is. This is Agori Baba to Meher Baba. One mast was brought to the hotel where Baba contacted him. For the most part, Baba had to walk miles in the steep terrain to make his contacts. It was drizzling and the journeys were tiresome. Baba is tired owing to the cumulative effect of travel and hardship, Adi recorded. On Wednesday, 7 August, Baba and the men left Simla a day early for Ambala. They had to change buses at Gadar, and Baba felt giddy while walking across a railway bridge. Adi Senior held his hand to help him across. They reached Ambala that night and slept well in the dak bungalow, although it was hot and humid. Early the next morning, Kaka was sent to Dehradun with Baba's instructions for Vishnu to meet them at Hardwar. Meanwhile, Baba communed with Taphanawala Baba, who was a tall, dark-skinned, naked mast. He lived in an open field in all seasons, surrounded by a pack of 12 dogs whom he fed before he ate his own food. He was respected by the cattle and goat herders who would have tea with him when invited. They then left for Barara, which was reached at 10 a.m. After a simple meal of rice and dal, they set out in a bus for Sadhpura and Nahan. There was only one bus the whole day, and consequently, it was jammed with passengers. Baba and Adi had to squeeze in front with the driver. The roads were muddy and slippery due to rains, and they had to drive through many creeks and streams. Finally, they reached Sadhpura after an hour and a half. Baba tried to contact 2 masts, but was unsuccessful. They continued by the same bus to Nahan, arriving at night. Baba went out the next day, 9 August 1946, with Baidul and Erech. It was raining, but they continued searching for a naked mast, supposedly living in a cemetery. This mast was also known as Agori Baba. The cemetery was located at the bottom of a small valley, and Baba had to climb down the slippery side of a muddy slope in the torrential rain to contact him. The efforts were worthwhile because this mast was advanced, and Baba expressed that his contact was satisfactory. And it's 9 a.m.
Okay, I think we've come to the end of our hour here. Let me stop the recording.